Boruto is much stronger than his father, the 7th Hokage, and there is plenty of evidence for this. Additionally, Boruto, as a character, is much more tragic and stronger in character than his father. I'm sure this will make many people laugh, but it's true, and in this video I will try to show you that. Enjoy watching. What's better, Boruto or Naruto anime? For many, the answer is obvious, and this question will make everyone laugh, as many are accustomed to simply hating the Boruto anime. But it's not as bad as you think. Since childhood, the main character, Uzumaki Naruto, had no one, and through his persistent hard work, he sought friendship and learned to build strong bonds. We all know his journey, and it's worthy of respect. He managed to achieve the title of Hokage. But what about Boruto? A brainless character, meaningless actions, exaggerated power. This is how many describe him, but many are looking in the wrong direction. Boruto had everything: family, friends, love, and care, and his father didn't have that. He achieved everything on his own. That's why at the beginning of the season, there was conflict between father and son. Naruto believed that his son didn't need anything, as he already had everything that the Hokage had strived for his whole life. Therefore, the 7th didn't understand that he wasn't devoting enough time to his son, which led Boruto to become jealous of his father's position because he didn't understand the significance of his duties. And this became one of the reasons why the Boruto anime began to be hated. But the character developed. He realized perfectly well what his father was doing and that it deserved respect. We have seen the main character evolve from a foolish boy to an understanding teenager. Naruto and Boruto have two differences. The 7th started his path with nothing to lose. Nobody loved him, and he was angry with everyone. But his son has many people he could lose if he made the wrong choice. Look at Sasuke. Losing his family made him bitter towards the world, turning him into a vengeful person. And now, the boy who had everything lost it. Boruto lost his home, his family, even his surname. After he decided to sacrifice his life to save everyone he loves, the closest person he considered a brother betrayed him and made him an enemy to the whole world. But despite this, Boruto didn't despair. He didn't give in. He showed character. He left the village and was ready to defend it, even though everyone considered him an enemy. And he continued to lose. Uchiha Sasuke, who went with him, sacrificed himself and became part of the 10 Tails. However, this didn't break Boruto. He continued his training, and when Konoha was in danger, he came and sorted everything out. Boruto, as a character, is very good. His development is right. His principles are unwavering. Even his father sometimes almost gave up, but always stood up because he had nothing to lose. If Naruto had died, he wouldn't have lost anything. Despite having friends, he wouldn't have lost what his son could lose. If Boruto were to die now, he would not only lose his life, but also his younger sister, his parents, his friends, and even the whole world. Boruto carries much more responsibility and burden on his shoulders than his father ever did. Naruto gradually learned about the problems awaiting him. At first, it was just Orochimaru, the desire to save a friend. He even left the village just to save Sasuke and hide from the Akatsuki. But remember the moment when Naruto returned. He spent 3 years of his life training with Jiraiya, and what did he learn? To do Rasengan a little bigger and to use Kurama's chakra a little more. And he spent a whole 3 years. Boruto, at the age of 12, learned that the entire ninja world would be destroyed if he let the Otsutsuki inside him take over. And he was ready to end everything. He left the village because his brother rewrote history. He knew that if he failed, the enemy would create a chakra fruit and the whole world would perish. And over these 3 years, the same period as his father, he became so strong that the enemy he fled from the first time became just a punching bag when he returned after the time skip. According to Uchiha, in a year, Boruto was able to learn all of Sasuke's techniques. Over the past 2 years, the younger Uzumaki has trained even more and learned his grandfather's technique, the Flying Thunder God technique. Meanwhile, his will only grew stronger. He doesn't hate his named brother for taking his life. He doesn't use his power against friends who attacked him because they don't remember him. Even towards Code, his enemy, he shows mercy. Boruto carries a burden much worse than Naruto ever had to. However, many don't see this because everything comes too easily to him. But many start to forget who Boruto really is, a genius. In his genes flows the blood of Hyuga, Uzumaki, Minato, but everyone forgets about it. If we say that Madara or Itachi, geniuses, mastered their techniques quickly, then it's normal. But if we apply the same principle to Boruto, he becomes a bad character, just like the whole anime. But the essence lies elsewhere, in the fact that many fans are simply upset because Naruto and Sasuke started losing. And this is the main reason why the Boruto anime is bad. But do you understand what the problem is? If we had an anime about Minato before we saw Naruto's story, we would witness the development of Jiraiya, Kakashi, the fourth himself. We would become attached to these characters, watching them overcome all difficulties, grow stronger, and then Then, in the Naruto anime, we would learn that Minato died at the hands of a boy, Jiraiya died at the hands of his student, Kakashi lost the Sharingan that made him strong. For many, this would be the same character depreciation as is happening now in the Boruto anime, but you shouldn't look at the story of the new generation only through the old characters. Try to see the whole story, disregarding the depreciation you see because it's part of the plot. If you manage to do this, you will see that Boruto repeats the fate of his father and his teacher. Meanwhile, the entire history of the ninja world continues. We learn where chakra came from, who the Otsutsuki are, and that Boruto is much stronger than Naruto. And the biggest fact to this is what I mentioned earlier. In 3 years, Boruto managed to learn what Naruto spent half of his life on, but all of this is considered undeserved by many. However, that's the essence of watching anime about a talented character. If we were watching a story about Itachi or Minato, they would also find learning new techniques very easy, but that doesn't mean they are bad characters. Should you watch the Boruto anime? Yes, if you do it impartially, but there's another problem, and it's the fillers. Unfortunately, with a very poor plot. But the same thing happened in the Naruto anime. However, for some reason, many have forgotten about it. But if you want to know the story of the Hokage's son without any fillers, then just read the manga and do it impartially. Now let's talk a bit about the plot itself. If a character doesn't show enough strength, it's not considered a defeat, it's plot development. In the new chapter of Boruto, we were shown how Kawaki was defeated with almost one blow. This happened for 2 reasons, but they are interconnected. The first is the plot, through which the authors want to show that the story revolves not only around the main character and his named brother, but also around other characters whose strength also needs to be revealed. If Kawaki, with all the power of the Otsutsuki that he should have, becomes like Saitama, then the anime would end in one battle. Therefore, the character needs development, and that's the second reason. Mental anguish, self-hatred, disgust for the power he must use, and a desire to be beaten, punished for his actions, all together is called plot. The same thing happens with Mitsuki. The fact that he didn't show enough strength against Boruto is nothing but internal struggle with himself, and not understanding whether he wants to fight or die. If you compare other characters with Boruto's achievements, then anyone against his background will look weak. But you must understand that the main character became strong not because he wanted to, but because he was forced to. He was hunted for 3 years by all the shinobi of the world, his own friends, and a psychotic teenager with 1,000 monsters. One bite from them, and Boruto is no more, just like the entire planet. This is the reason for the main character's desire to become faster, namely thanks to the flying thunder god technique, with which he can instantly move to another place. Boruto understood the danger, so he studied techniques to avoid these dangers. He was tormented by completely different thoughts, traumas, and experiences, which gave rise to the hero we are now witnessing, the one who cannot afford to lose. His loss is equivalent to the end of the world. This is the big difference between him and his father, at the moment when they both returned to the village from training. If you take Naruto from the 2nd season when he returned to Konoha, and Boruto, whom we saw in the manga, the younger Uzumaki wins, undoubtedly. Based on this, for some reason, everyone started to think that any hero should be as strong as Boruto, without considering either the character's personality or the circumstances affecting him. And this misunderstanding of how a character develops, and a person as well, leads to groundless insults, because comparing to someone else is wrong. The same thing happens in real life. If you look at someone who has achieved something and at another person who has much less, you might think that the latter is worse. However, it's just a foolish comparison that leads to wrong conclusions. Don't compare characters, each of them has their own path to go through and a plot to unfold. And try not to compare yourself to anyone, just go towards your goal, ignoring anyone else. I hope you enjoyed this video. Good luck to everyone.